Good morning, everyone. A large section of this week's Torah portion is actually read on Yom Kippur afternoon. And which section do we take out of this week's Torah portion to read at the holiest day, just hours before we're going to conclude the day of Yom Kippur, the day that we're like the angels and we've been fasting for almost 24 hours? It's the entire section from this week's Parsha that deals with the forbidden relationships, intimate sexual relationships between various family members or different individuals who are not allowed to be with each other. Now, as far as the question is, here's the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur, and it's in the afternoon. You already fasted for 20 hours. And what does the Torah come along and tell you? A man shouldn't sleep with his mother, with his wife's sister, with an animal, with all these very, you may say, extreme, repugnant, forbidden relationships. You have to tell this to the Jewish people on Yom Kippur afternoon? Is that what's on our minds? And obviously what the Torah is telling us is never forget you're a human being. As a human being, no matter how righteous or holy or pious you are, you have certain desires and certain impulses that sometimes can be misguided and lead you astray. And never be overconfident in yourself, and always realize that you have to be on guard. And that's why there's a prohibition called yichud. If you come up to my office, you'll see that I have a frame door with a sheet of glass. Why do I have a sheet of glass? Because people come to see me, and sometimes a woman comes to see me. And there's a very interesting Jewish law, it's called yichud. A man is not allowed to be alone behind closed doors with a woman that's not his wife. And many times when I tell this law to people, they say, what? Is that what Judaism thinks of human beings? That if I close a door with a woman, it doesn't matter if she's 19 or 99. I'm not allowed to close the door. Why? Man and a woman shouldn't be alone. And you think, is this what we suspect people of doing? So first of all, the Me Too movement today showed us that yes, human beings are capable of doing terrible things in that regard. But the point that Torah is telling us is that you always have to be on guard. At the end of this week's parsha, it says, "Ushmartem et mishmarti." You should safeguard my safeguard. What does that mean? The whole Torah is boundaries to keep a man, to keep a person from going to transgressing, to do anything immoral, unethical, improper. But the Torah says you should set up safeguards for my safeguards. Hence, we have all the rabbinic prohibitions, like yichud. You shouldn't be in isolation with another person that's not your wife. And there are many, many laws when it comes to all the realms of Judaism, whether it's Shabbat or other areas, where the rabbis set up safeguards to the safeguards in order to protect us from coming into violation of the actual Torah. And sometimes people say, I think this is a little extreme, this is a little far-fetched, this is a little over the top. Do we really have to have all these extra precautions? And I want to just tell you a story, a true story. There was a yeshiva boy this time of year, actually, going back to yeshiva. He was home for Pesach, and he was taking a flight to another city. And this was in the days when they served meals on the plane, and he ordered a kosher meal. He sat down, your kosher meal comes double wrapped to make sure that it wasn't tampered with, and it was in the oven, that it had double seal. And he takes out his dinner, he opens it up, and it's a nice turkey sandwich. And he has to go wash for hamotzi. So he asks the passenger next to him, excuse me, and he heads out to the back of the plane, he gets a cup, he washes his hands for netilat yadayim. As he's walking back, he remembers a law. What does the law say? Of course, you have to have kosher meat, and when you receive it, it has to have a seal to say it's kosher. But there's a law called basar shenisale min ha'ayim, meat that left your eyes watch. That once your eye lost watch over it, you never know what happened. So you're not allowed to eat it. So here he went to the back of the plane. He didn't see his meat for about 2 minutes. It's called meat that left your eyes gaze. And maybe he's not allowed to eat it now. He thought about it. He said, yeah, I can't see how I'm allowed to eat this once I took my eyes off the meat. So the law is the law. And even though he said, well, what could have happened in 2 minutes? But he trusted the law. He came back to his seat. He didn't eat the sandwich. His Gentile passenger alongside him said, aren't you going to have your dinner? Didn't know what to say, because he had told the guy who was going to wash his hands to eat the meal. Now he's not eating it. So he had to explain to him after a while that we have this law. He was a little embarrassed. It sounded strange, that once the meat, you're not watching, you're not allowed to eat it anymore. The man says, I can't believe how amazing your religion is. He says, why? He says, I'll tell you the truth. I've never eaten kosher meat in my life, and I heard it's delicious. I always wanted to taste what's so special about kosher meat. So when you went to the back of the plane, I figured, what's the big deal? I'll take one piece of turkey, a slice out of your sandwich to taste kosher meat. I took a piece of turkey out, it was delicious. Then I said, I feel bad, your sandwich isn't as big as it was. So I took a piece out of my ham sandwich and I stuck it into your turkey sandwich to compensate you for what I took out of your thing. He said, had you eaten that sandwich, you would have eaten the piece of ham. Your religion and your rabbis are brilliant because they're absolutely right. Once you take your eyes off it, you don't know. So human beings need safeguards to the safeguards. And if you go to Publix and you buy a Advil and you open it up and the seal is not there, you wouldn't consume it. Why? Because one of the safeguards is not there. Because you don't want to take any risk that maybe you're going to harm yourself physically. And that's what the Torah says. If you care as much about your spiritual well-being as your physical well-being, you'll always create safeguards to the safeguards to make sure that you never come to a situation where you do something improper.